Hi friends. Today we're going to hi world. Today we're going to talk about the way that me and Sheila ended up meeting and some of the circumstances that led to our first meeting and kind of how we ended up getting together. You know, okay, so I'm going to tell my story and then you can tell your story about kind of how we ended up meeting, okay?
You tell your story first, then I'll tell my story later when you finish.
Sure. So one way that we ended up meeting, at the time that we met, Sheila was living in Costa Rica. It was actually around my 40th birthday that I decided to, I was with my friend Rich, and we decided that we wanted to travel somewhere outside the country to celebrate my birthday and just kind of get away. It was around December, about December 20th, Salt Lake City, Utah at the time in United States. And my buddy and me decided, hey, we looked on a map of many countries around the world. We thought, where can we go just to get away this winter for a couple weeks? So we researched a lot of places. We had kind of decided maybe we'll go to the Dominican Republic.
Oh, Dominican Republic.
Yeah, we were thinking of going there because we heard some good things about it.
We almost didn't meet them.
Yeah, we almost didn't meet, and kind of our meeting was actually had a lot to do with fate. Because there was a lot of things fate and destiny.
Take note.
Yeah, take note. Fate and destiny.
Destiny!
If some very interesting things wouldn't have happened, we wouldn't be sitting here married holding a 1-year-old baby. Hey, so basically, after looking at like Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Mexico, several other places, mainly in the Caribbean, we wanted to go somewhere warm. It was very cold in Salt Lake that year. So after looking at a few places, we kind of said, hey, Costa Rica seems like a nice, semi-safe place to go. You know, there's a few people there that speak English. Me and my other friend don't really speak a lot of Spanish. So we decided on Costa Rica. So around December 20th, maybe about December 18th, I would think. You
arrived in Puerto Viejo first, in Costa Rica.
Yeah, so let's just go back and say December 10th is when we flew out, okay? So when we flew out of Salt Lake, we flew on Delta Airlines. I actually took a nice flight. We decided to treat ourselves, so we flew first class on Delta. And that was a nice experience. We'll talk about the first class lifestyle later, but generally most of me and Sheila's flights have just been economy, and we don't really fly first class or business because we've traveled a lot. We need to save some money for our adventures. So we flew to Costa Rica. When I told him I was going to Costa Rica in December, he said, I'm actually going to be there too. So I met up with my buddy Ryan, and me and my buddy Rich, who went there together. We all met up in Manuel Antonio, had some adventures. After Rich ended up going back to the United States, me and Ryan, who had actually been to Costa Rica a couple times several years ago, he said, hey, let's go stay in this hostel. It's in San Jose somewhere. So I'd never been to a hostel before. I'm only used to in America staying at hotels like the Marriott and different places like that. I always thought that travel had to be like $180 a night room, because that's kind of an American ideal.
Yeah, American idea.
So after my friend Rich left,
Filipino idea too.
Filipino idea.
Yeah,
that's kind of how you understand
when you
it.
travel, a lot of Filipino idea, like when you travel, it should be like $100 hotel, something like that. Not a lot of Filipinos knows about hostel.
So what happened is after Rich left, my buddy said, hey, let's go to this hostel. It's $10 a night for your bunk bed. You'll be kind of in a dormitory where there's other people, male and female, sleeping in the same room. It's all very respectful. You've got like your own locker and privacy, but you all kind of share a giant room. I said, let's do it. So my buddy left. We went to this hostel. It was kind of an interesting experience. When I was at this hostel, I was talking to several travelers, some from the United States, but a lot of people, most of them are from Germany, Europe, all over in different places in the world. Now, I had plans originally that I'd stay in Costa Rica for a couple weeks, and then I would travel to Nicaragua and I would fly out of the Managua airport. So this German girl that was working at this hostel, she had actually said to me, before you go, because you've got about 3.5 weeks, before you go ahead and travel to Panama and go to this small place called Bocas del Toro. Bocas del Toro is a chain of islands in the Caribbean. Just it's about 28 nautical miles from Puerto Viejo, where me and Sheila ended up meeting. So she said, you can go down there, but go and spend at least 2 days there. It's an amazing place. You're going to want to see it. This is kind of where fate and destiny comes into place. And I was thinking about this the other day. If I had never met this German girl, she never would have told me to go this way. If I had never went to a hostel, I never would have met Sheila. If I wouldn't have went to Costa Rica, obviously I wouldn't have met Sheila. But there was a lot of factors that came into play. So the day we stayed in this hostel a couple days, and then my buddy Ryan also had to return to the United States.
And you stayed, right?
And I stayed. And then he said, so he took me to the bus and said, okay, here's where you're going to go. And this bus is going to take you to Puerto Viejo. And you're going to stay there a night or two. And then you're going to cross the border into Panama to go to this Bocas del Toro. It was kind of a little scary to travel on your own, first time out of the country, not speaking Spanish. I got on this bus and went down in San Jose, right in the center of town, and you get on this bus. And I think it cost around $12 American. I'm not sure how much that would be in colones, but more or less $1 American is about 500 colones. So basically, it ended up being about $10 to $12 for the bus ride. So I get on this bus. I happen to sit next to a local Costa Rican guy named Andres. Now Andres, it was just kind of a chance encounter. You have assigned seats on the bus. He came and sat next to me, and when we took off on our bus ride heading close to the border, to Puerto Viejo, we sat and talked, and it was a 5-hour bus ride. Now, the bus ride there is pretty cool. Once we got about an hour outside of San Jose, which is to start talking, where are you from, what are you doing? I kind of told him where I was heading, and we sat and kind of made a friendship over those 5 hours. And as we were talking, he said, I'm going to Puerto Viejo to see my girlfriend. And I said, I'm just traveling to Panama. And I had a hostel picked out. It was a backpacker hostel. I'll have to mix. It's $11 a day. It has like a bar there. It's very famous. It's like the biggest hostel. Rocking J.
Oh.
Have you heard of it?
No.
Rocking J Hostel in Puerto Viejo. And we'll try to add a link in our description if we can find it. But basically, on the trip, we get there into Puerto Viejo after a 5.5-hour bus ride. It's around 6 o'clock at night, so it's very dark. I get off the bus, and Andres said, hey, I'm going to take you to your hostel and show you where this place is. So we go there. I check in. I pay $22 because I'm planning on staying for 2 nights. And then after I get off the bus and I pay the money, Andres kind of looks around. He says, hey, I'm going to see my girlfriend.
Right here.
And she lives in this nice house. It's kind of like a paradise house with a big wall. There's a swimming pool. 300 yards or 300 meters from the beach. If you want to come with me, you can come and stay there. So I'd already paid the $22, but I said, hey, that sounds better than where I'm at, because the place I was at was just a bunk bed in a hostel. I decided to take a chance and go with Andres to this hostel. And
first you were scared.
it was a little scary to just get in a car, because this guy had had an MMA fighting shirt on, and he'd done a lot of like MMA type fighting, and I figured if this guy, I'm a big guy, but I figured if a guy with MMA skills really wanted to beat you up, there's no stopping him. So we take a risk, we get in this car, we drive down a very dark dirt road to Playa Negra, which is in Puerto Viejo. They call it Playa Negra, which in Spanish basically means black beach, because it's black sand. The car on a very dark road. I had my bag and all my belongings I brought with me. Dark place where there's no lights. And I really said to myself out loud, I said, this is where you get robbed. I was really thinking I made a mistake getting on the bus here. So, or getting in the car with him. So we get out and he starts yelling over this fence and saying, Loida, Loida. And then all of a sudden the lights turn on, this big gate opens, we go inside, and it's kind of dark at night. But I was like, oh, maybe this is for real, this isn't like a scam. So I was super nervous, being first time out of the country. Then we went into this courtyard, and it's just a beautiful place with a decent sized house, 2 stories, and a guest house that's 2 stories. It had a swimming pool and like these 10-foot walls, and just a beautiful manicured yard with lots of flowers and nature. So after that time, for the next couple days, we stayed there and we explored Puerto Viejo, which is just a small town near the border, about a 30-minute bus ride to the Panamanian border. And it's on the Caribbean side.
Yeah, that's the Caribbean. Puerto Viejo is the Caribbean side of Costa Rica.
Now, Puerto Viejo, being a small town, being close to the border, there's not a lot of police presence there. It's kind of a lawless place where you occasionally hear of, a couple travelers getting into trouble, getting robbed or something like that. So it's a beautiful place. I recommend everyone go there. You just
need to be careful.
Just like anywhere.
Anywhere in the world you go, your safety is on your own hand anyway. So.
Like normally as Americans, we think like, oh, we're so rich, which isn't always the truth. But when we go traveling, we kind of try to keep a low profile. We don't wear our nicest watches or jewelry. We don't always take our nicest and most expensive clothes, which is one way that a lot of foreigners can actually spot an American, as we're always wearing kind of like
t-shirt,
dumpy, crappy clothes that are like worn out. Whereas a lot of people that travel a lot, they wear their nicest clothes because they're there to have fun and they're not so worried. But basically,
okay,
that's kind of the way it is.
Yeah.
And I'd actually heard something called the gray man theory. When you travel, you just kind of want to be gray. You don't want to be a bright color. You just want to blend in and just kind of fit into the scenery, not really stand out and show all your expensive camera equipment. So don't make yourself a target. And that's a good travel advice. Anywhere you go in the United States, even.
Anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world, be safe. Use your common sense. Days after that, after we'd been hanging out, it was pretty close to Christmas time. And Andres,
23. December 23.
December 23rd was the day we met.
The day we met.
So around December 23rd, Andres said, hey, because he'd been there with his, she was actually a Filipina girl that was his girlfriend. He said, hey, there's this other Filipino girl. She's coming into town. Do you want to meet her? And I said, sure. He said, just like if you meet her, don't be a jerk and, be rude to her or anything. Just kind of treat her nice and things like that. I said, sure, I'm a nice guy. So that night we all kind of got dressed up and we went into town because we were a couple miles away from town. We usually take a taxi in there. Now time of the year, it's our winter in the United States, and would you say it's kind of rainy season there?
Yeah, it's kind of rainy season. It was raining.
It was raining heavily every day we were there. I mean, in fairness, it would rain a couple hours and then the sun comes out, and then 4 or 5 hours later it rained for 45 minutes heavily. We went to this bar. It was actually called The Point, and it's kind of at a point on the beach, and so they appropriately named this bar The Point. We went there and had some food, and we actually waited. What was going on with Sheila?
For me.
Sheila was actually, you'd been living in, was it San Jose?
I live in Costa Rica already because I work there. Well, before I went to Costa Rica, I'll tell you a little bit of story. I worked in the Middle East for almost 5 years. I went home to the Philippines. I applied again, and I heard this au pair have choices. You have choices of countries where you want to go, and then I have a lot of offers like Turkey, Canada, anywhere, but there's one couple that really interests me because they said their daughter is 6 years old.
What's an au pair? Just explain real quickly.
It's like a nanny, a live-in nanny, caregiver, something like that.
How many kids were you watching?
I was only watching one. There were first they were Polish family, and then later I also found another family work there. Even if you work as an au pair, you will have your own day off, holiday.
What was your days off?
My days off is every Sunday. Day off ni Inday every Sunday. So, and then in Costa Rica also, when it's holiday, if you will work on holiday, it's double pay. That's the standard. And you have like 15 days yearly vacation. And I only ask 14 days vacation to my employers. I didn't know that he's there already the time.
What made you decide to come to Puerto Viejo?
That's already a plan because I've been wanting all my life, charot, all my life. Like I've been, ever since I hear about Caribbean, I've been wanting to go there because, you know, I've been to Mediterranean, to Dead Sea already, and I was like, oh, I want to go to the Caribbean. 23rd, that's the day I decided to took a bus.
You took the same bus from the same place.
I took the
in
same
San
bus,
Jose,
the
5
same
hour
place.
drive.
That time it was raining and there's a lot of traffic. I don't, because it's December 23rd. That's why it was really traffic. It took 6 hours.
And it's just a 2-lane highway. So there's traffic going one way and traffic coming the other. So you can imagine, with all the people in this country, Costa Rica has around 4 million people living there. If there's any accidents or anything that holds people up, it can actually add up to an extra hour trip. So you came to Puerto Viejo on December 23rd.
Yeah, I came. A friend told me that don't come in the house when you get off from the bus. There's a taxi I already contact for you. Take the taxi and then he will send you here in this restaurant, The Point. So I was like, okay, and I had my big backpack, and that time, because that was my first vacation also, so I took a lot of things with me.
Everything in your closet.
Yeah, everything in my closet. And then and when I arrived there, it was raining, and then when I arrived,
it was raining really hard when you got off the bus.
Yeah,
like super like a monsoon.
Yeah, when I arrived in the restaurant, he's already there. He keeps on staring at me.
So you came in.
And he do like this.
You came in. You came in. I helped you with your backpack off of the bus.
Yeah.
We hurried and ran into the restaurant and sat down.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, "Hey, how's your trip?" You said it was very long. It's already late at night.
Yeah.
We'd already ordered the food. Now I was sitting across from you, and we're gonna kind of line us up together, set us up.
Yeah.
You're saying that the very first time you met me, what was your impression of me?
You looks cute, but it's so awkward and annoying because he keeps on staring at me. Charot.
What was the staring like?
Like this. He's like studying me. Then I was like, wrong, why he keeps on staring at me?
Yeah. I'm sure that's kind of annoying when you got some guy there that's kind of staring at you. And of course
and take note, I just get off from the bus for 6 hours from the traffic.
You're probably looking to relax.
Yeah, I want to relax and eat my food, and then suddenly they already arranged, like, I was like, who's this guy, Char?
Mm-hmm. So, you know, and I'm sure I was staring at her. I'm seeing this like kind of shorter girl.
Short.
From the Philippines.
I guess I'm the first Filipino you met, huh? Filipino, except Ate Loida.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
And so I've never really met a lot of Filipinos. And you talk a little bit different and have different expressions.
Like what expression?
Just whenever I would tell you something with a very heavy accent,
really?
you'd say, "Ah, really?" And that was your thing. "Ah, really?" And it was so cute. I was like, she seems very innocent and naive.
And I was slim that time. Slimmer face, slimmer body. Now
before you gave birth.
Yeah, before I gave birth.
So we ended up having, you know, a couple drinks, and we had our dinner. We're staying in the main house, and me and Andres were staying in the guest house, if I remember correctly.
Yes, yeah.
So we would hang out, and then every so often we would all go kind of into town and do an adventure, get lunch, go to the beach, go swimming. One of the first times that we went swimming, I was telling Sheila, come out here and swim in the ocean, and she was afraid to get in the ocean because the waves were very scary.
The waves are huge in the Caribbean.
And I told her, don't worry, if you start to drown, I'll save you. But she was like, no. About 2 or 3 days together, we celebrated Christmas. You know, and keep in mind, I was supposed to be heading to Panama when I came into Puerto Viejo, and suddenly I'm spending 4 or 5 days in Puerto Viejo at this house. It's kind of like a whole different world for me, meeting Sheila and meeting all these people and experiencing a different culture. But I still had my plans. You know, after Christmas, I said, I'm on my way to Bocas del Toro, Panama, and I will see you guys. I'm going to go there for 2 days, and I will come back probably around the 29th. Before New Year. Before New Year's, I'll come back and we'll celebrate New Year's in Puerto Viejo at the house. So I ended up going to Bocas del Toro. And
he'll come back for New Year, but he actually did not come back.
Yeah.
We had a really good celebration though. So it was like, what do you think happened to Matt? And then my friend said he got sick. So that's why he didn't have the chance to come back.
Kind of what happened is I get to Bocas del Toro, and it's a huge party destination, and I meet all of these people at this hostel I was staying at, meeting all these crazy travelers from all over Europe, and a lot of people from Argentina, and I want to tell about my stories sometime because it's amazing, life-changing, eye-opening stories. But anyway, I ended up staying there. I ended up partying way too much and too frequently. And because of like staying up late, drinking too much, smoking too many cigarettes, trying to keep up and show the young 20-year-olds how to party, which I really did. I had to teach the young kids how real parties were. And so after all of that,
a chance to come back.
Because of all of that and the late nights and staying in an air-conditioned room and then coming out to a high humidity environment every day, I started getting sick and getting a cold. And I always would feel really, really sick. And I couldn't kick this sickness. I ended up staying 2 weeks. So I came back in January to And I think at the time, Sheila was already gone, weren't you?
Yeah.
You'd gone back to work.
Yeah, I've gone back to work.
After I finally felt better, I went back to Puerto Viejo. I went back to this house where Loida and Andres were. I stayed for maybe 2 to 3 more days, I think.
and then they told me that he's coming back, and then so we're going to a party because she will celebrate a birthday party. He bought me flowers. That's the very first time he bought flowers. I just don't have the photo, but yeah, he bought.
They were beautiful flowers too. They cost a lot of money.
And I was like, where did you buy the flowers? You can just buy.
Pick some on the side of the
Yeah,
road.
because it takes a lot of money, flowers and chocolate.
Right. So what had happened is Sheila has a friend who owned like a hotel in San Jose area, and she was just barely starting to get it running, and we haven't been there for years, so I'm not sure if it still is running at this point.
Yeah.
But me and Loida, we actually
All the group.
we took a 5-hour bus ride back into town, 5 to 6 hours. We stayed at this. She stayed at this hotel. The very first night or two, I stayed down the street. It was actually right around the corner in another hostel. So then when Sheila had her day off, we ended up going and meeting up at the hotel and hanging out and having some drinks.
We go to the party.
We went to a birthday party.
Party.
And it was, if you've ever been to like a Filipino birthday party, it's all about food and karaoke videoke. So everybody wants to have a lot of food and some drinks, and everybody's got to sing and talk about how well they can sing and see if they can be, the next American Idol.
Next video, we will share our travels together. How we met again when he go back to the US.
And shortly after that birthday party and us spending a couple days together in San Jose, I was heading on my way to Nicaragua. And after a few days, you had to go back to work, and I realized there's nothing for me in San Jose because San Jose isn't exactly a tourist destination. Yeah. So you had went back to work. I bought you those flowers when I originally saw you again. And then I said, okay, I'm leaving to Nicaragua.
Yeah.
And that was the last time that we saw each other on that trip to a couple places in Nicaragua. And then eventually, in another video, we'll talk about how we met up again. But I came back a few months later and saw Sheila again. But for this video, does that kind of tell some of the story about
how we met?
We ended up meeting.
And our next video will also share our long distance relationship and immigration story.
And I time that Sheila laid eyes on me. What was your impression of me?
Handsome.
Very handsome. He's
very
tall.
handsome. He's handsome. Look at that face.
And back then, 4 years ago, I was a little skinnier.
We were both skinnier.
And younger. But I still had this amazing blonde hair and blue eyes. And so Sheila, I'm sure, instantly fell in love. So.
And we have this, look.
We got this little baby. He's the result of us meeting on a random bus ride, on a random trip.
Bus ride.
All because of destiny and fate. We'll see you in another video.
Yep.
For now, we're going to say bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And if you're new to our channel, don't forget to click like and subscribe. And we'll keep you updated as promised. Team Spencer.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.